Well, a hearty shalom to you, Jeffrey Seif here. Just got off the plane, in fact, and drove in from San Francisco. Me and the TLV were ministering. It was wonderful. And now I have an opportunity to sit down and talk to you. We're going to finish up the 15th chapter, beginning in verse 22 and working our way through the end. I'm not going to do it point by point. The beginning of it, that is 22 through 34, is simply reiterating and advancing that which came before it. That is, there was a dispute amongst the brethren about what's the best way forward. And by the way, that happens all the time in church, where good people, different people have different ideas, and people take it personal, and I feel, and the Lord said to me, and if I'm feeling it strongly, obviously it's God, and people bang, 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 and this church splits and it's a mess. You know, good people are asking the question, what's God up to in the world? And different people, because people are different, they answer it differently. Thus, bang, 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 bang. Well, they have bang, 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 bang here, even at the very inception of the Messianic Jewish/Christian movement. They have the good sense to appeal to authority, however. Whenever something new is happening, there's questions about what to do with it all, and they're not listening to Paul in full and Barnabas. So they convene a council, they all get together, and they really decided in favor of Paul. It's new, but let's go with it. And so in verses 22 through 35, they're just sending out word of that which was decided upon previously. I lighted upon it briefly in the last segment. I don't want to do it here. But I do want to note, as I'd said in conjunction with this, that good people, religious people, can get into fussing and fighting. It's been known to happen. And I want to note as well, it's good to appeal to a higher authority, not just I think, I feel, therefore it is what it is, and this is the way it should be. The Bible says love doesn't insist on its own way. We do well, as they do here, to appeal to, if you look in verse 22, the apostles and the elders. There is some kind of apparatus at play with people that are a little older, a little smarter in the Lord, and better it is to defer, and they do. Whenever there's a dispute, someone's going to win an argument, someone's going to lose it. Well, blessed are the flexible, they will not be broken. Let's not just be so ensconced in our own particular positions. In any case, so Paul won the case here, and the issue is that now that Gentiles are accepting Jesus, the question is, do they need to just really convert over to become Jews in order to be good Christians? It sounds funny to say it, but that's what the issue was. And the question was raised, and the answer was no. We're not going to impose upon women and men of non-Jewish extract to adhere to the fullness of the Mosaic economy, something that was understood to be reserved for women and men who were Jewish. No, here there's a few things, abstain from sexual immorality, etc. So that is sorted out. If you look in verse 36, which is where I want to begin here, we're told, after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, you know, they finished this first round, this first journey, and they're back in Antioch, Syria, where they were dispatched from some years prior. And Paul says, let's return and visit the brothers and sisters in every city where we have proclaimed the word of the Lord to see how they are. Paul has the spilkies, he's a little antsy, and this second journey is precipitated just by going and checking on the brethren. He's not looking for something new, he's just checking up on the gains that they'd already made. We're told then that in the immediate aftermath of this, they have a fight. Barnabas, we're told in 37, was planning to take along John called Mark. But Paul, insisting that they shouldn't take him along, the one who had deserted them in Pamphylia, not accompanying them in the work. There's a dispute here. Barnabas is related to John Mark, but John Mark went on the first trip and didn't perform well, and Paul doesn't want to take him for round two. And, you know, they're kin, and there's a fight. It's interesting that Paul just got out of one fight with a number of believers that thought that he needed to impose more restrictions on Gentiles. He won that fight. He goes back with Barnabas, and now there's another dispute. starts off, let's do a good work together. You know, they were laboring together. Actually, initially, Paul was Barnabas' helper. But now Paul, let's do this, and you know, Barnabas, let's do, and you know, they're struggling with it. Again, good people fight. You know, it's interesting. You know, today there's fighting in our faith communities, and people say, "Oh, why can't we just get along like they did in the beginning?" And you know, dwelling in unity. You know, that's just a mythic telling of what it was like at the outset. Truth of the matter is, these people had Jesus in their hearts, but they still had other stuff in there as well. You know, people are people, and we get into it and duke it out. I wish it wasn't that way, but it doesn't surprise me when people act like people, because I happen to know I'm people too. I'm not just Jesus Christ incarnate. You know, I so happen to possess a certain disposition. In verse 39, we're told that a sharp disagreement took place so that they split off from one another. There you go. It looks like a church split. It's interesting that Paul survived the council. Prior to this, he prevailed in that, but he couldn't survive with his best friend. Probably hurts a lot harder here because Paul and Barnabas were closer. And there's a rupture over the John Mark question. Later on, Paul is going to commend John Mark. Apparently they did patch it up. They got in trouble. They got sideways with each other. You know, John Mark was a little stupid. You know, I was talking to my wife in the car on the way back from the airport earlier about rookie mistakes. I mentioned that because, you know, at 63, and I'm staring at 63 right now in short order, you know, I'm not new to life, but once I was new to living and learning and professions, and beyond being a Bible professor, and I've done that for 30 years, I also was a firefighter for a season and a police officer for a much, much longer one. And we're talking about rookie mistakes. Rookies do dumb stuff. If you've ever seen these TV programs about dumb rookie cops, I mean, of course it's Hollywood, but it's true. You know, you just do stupid. And John Mark did stupid, and so there's a problem there, and maybe Paul's overreacting here. I don't know how to sort it out. Apparently that they all got back together again later on down the road, but here there's a sharp disagreement and there's a split. Sounds like bad news, and emotionally it is, and I suppose spiritually it is too, but the net result is that though they didn't get along personally over the issue, they still were minded to go along with the Lord and advance his kingdom. So now instead of having just one team, Paul and Barnabas, you know, they split up, and there's two teams going out. So the good Lord still, he's getting more mileage out of his tires, even through a church split. It's interesting. We're told that they split, and Barnabas took Mark with him and sailed away to Cyprus, but Paul selected Silas and went out, being entrusted by the brothers and sisters to the gracious care of the Lord, and he went through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the communities. So there really is good news at the end of the day, and the kingdom is advancing. Great story. I hope you benefited some from this brief consideration of it. I alighted upon the fact that people get tangled up a little bit occasionally. Maybe that resonates with you. When you get tangled up with people appealing to the authority in the house, congregations have pastors, they have elders, and best to defer and not think yourself to be them, not usurp, which is a perennial problem. I see it in worship teams more time than I'd like to, by the way. That, well, here's what the Lord is saying and the way to lead the congregation. Instead of seeing as a servant of the spiritual leader of the house, all of a sudden they're telling him what to do. And things get jammed up a little bit, not just in that capacity, but in others. Best to follow the leadership of the house. In any case, we're going to pick up next week, chapter 16. Thanks for going with me through chapter 15. Seif here. I'm signing out. God bless.